The Honda E is probably one of the most hyped up electric cars of the last couple of years. It's not the fastest. It certainly hasn't got the longest range. So why are we so excited about it? Well, look at it. I don't know if anybody can remember the concept that previewed this, and that was pretty cool looking. And Honda's done an amazing job of translating that to the production car. You probably don't want to put the two side by side because it's not quite as low and squat and sporty as that, but this grabs attention like very few other cars. Now, where to start? Up front, you've got this super cute face, perfectly round lights, this contrasting black, and actually contrasting black is a theme that carries out throughout the whole car. You may have noticed the lack of door mirrors here, and that's standard. We'll talk about those in a minute. Something that might escape people, but is worth looking at, is you've got this lovely continuous line here. There's no break in the roof, so it just smoothens out the whole body visually and aerodynamically probably as well. The back here, you have almost hidden door handles. Used to be an Alpha thing, but it works very well here. And you've got this contrast black roof. Around the back, you have the same echoed contrasting black here and perfectly circular lights. There's something really pleasing about that, and lit up, they really look quite special, turbine-like almost. But this contrasting black is what defines the car. You find it down here below as well, you find it up in the roof, and overall it's just a sleek shape. Now, it's a city car, so you can't expect too much from the boot. It holds about 171 litres apparently, which isn't too bad. You won't fit a big huge buggy in there, be prepared for that. The back seat does fold down. It's a one piece and it folds down and makes one big flat floor. Don't know if you notice this black section on the bonnet here. It's quite an unusual bit of design. It came from the concept, and it's a statement by Honda that this is the electric car. It's where the charge port is. Hold down a button on the key, neatly pops open, and underneath is a charge port. CCS, up to 60 kilowatts for rapid charging. Pretty cool, useful location, but I'm not so sure if it rains, does water collect here? Hopefully Honda has thought of that. And if you think the exterior design is interesting, you really need to have a look inside the Honda E. It is masterclass in how to do the interior of a city car. It is dominated by this big straight dashboard, which actually has 6 different screens in it. So 2 of those are the mirrors, or effectively the mirrors, which take their feed from the cameras outside the doors. You've got another camera-fed mirror up here, and actually you can switch between whether you want a mirror or a camera. You've got the digital instruments right in front of you, and then you have 2 large screens here in the middle. They're customizable. The passenger can use them, the driver can use them. You can flip what you want to see on one, the power, what's happening with the power, what's happening with the navigation, your phone, all kinds of connectivity. In fact, you can plug in games consoles too. That's because down here you have power sockets galore. You have a regular 3-pin socket, you have all your USB, you have HDMI. It's like nothing else on the market from that point of view. Now, aside from all this connectivity and technology, it's actually a really, really pleasant cabin to be in. It's got these really unusual materials and surfaces. This looks like wood, it isn't, but it feels nice still all the same, and it looks good. These seats are really soft, but they really hold you well, and they're wide too. These front seats in particular, there's loads of space up here. On the door cards, you also have this soft cloth material, but it looks good with this contrast stitching. It's almost bronze, isn't it? And the seatbelts are the same colour. It's a nice touch. And actually, the doors are frameless. It's quite impressive that Honda brought that to production. In terms of practicality and storage in here, there's lots of little knickknacks, really cleverly done. You see down here is you pull out the cup holder. But when you don't want it, you put it out of the way, and it means it gives the car a spacious feel there. You don't need the space for anything. Down here, down near the charge ports, you have a pouch for your device, presumably. The glove box there isn't very big, but it's still of use. Between the seats is this, it looks like cup holders at first, 3 cup holders, but you can adjust where you want them and what distance you want and how much space you want to have there. That works quite well. Now, this center console houses the buttons for the drive system. Simple drive, neutral, park and reverse. Couldn't be simpler. There's also a drive mode, which we'll get to in a minute, and then you have brake hold, and there's an electronic parking brake too. It's also worth pointing out how nice the steering wheel is. It just looks quite simple. It's only a 2-spoke affair, but actually that makes the car feel more spacious because you have this gap here. It's perfectly circular, which we like. It's a nice material for most part. It's soft leather, which is lovely, and it's good to hold. Now, it's got plenty of adjustment as well, up and down, in and out, as you see fit, so it'll fit lots of different people. Behind it are these paddles. This car doesn't have a gearbox with gears. It's a single speed reduction gearbox, so it's not for that. It's for adjusting the level of brake energy regeneration. Very simple, really. And in the back, it might surprise you. It's quite a small car, but because of the packaging of the electric system, there's more room back here than you'd expect. It's still a city car, so adjust your expectations. But look at the height of it. Loads of headroom, absolutely loads of headroom. Now, I'm sitting behind my standard driving position here, and as you can see, I have plenty of room. Okay, it's not spacious, and actually the door openings is probably the biggest restriction, so you have to fold yourself in a bit. But once you're in, it's comfortable. Now, I'll say that's for two back here. There are actually two seat belts in this car. Again, though, you do get these lovely bronzy gold seat belts and stitching and everything. But it's quite spacious. You could easily get 4 people in this car, cruise around town, happy out. So, design aside, what is the Honda E all about? Well, Honda fits a fairly small battery pack to this car, giving it a range of about 220 kilometers. That doesn't sound like it compares very well with the likes of the Renault Zoe and some of the other cars. However, that small battery pack makes it smaller, makes it lighter, and actually the life cycle CO2 of the car is lower too, and that's something that's going to become more important, we think. Regardless, for the city dweller, somebody who wants something stylish, it is a good option. And it's not exactly lacking in poke. This one has 154 horsepower, 315 Newton meters of torque. So it's not a sports car, but it's nippy enough by any standards. Actually, it gets rear wheel drive too, which is a bit of an unusual move. What that does mean is an incredible turning circle. Stuck in traffic like this gives you a chance to play with the infotainment and the screens and everything. Probably not the best time to be setting up your PlayStation or your Nintendo or whatever. Of course, the best thing about an electric car when you're sitting in traffic is it's using very little energy, and it's certainly emitting no emissions, local emissions anyway, no matter where your electricity is coming from. I mean, like all electric cars, Honda E is lovely around town. It's really quiet, just ambles along, and it's just calm, relaxing place to be. It's quite a strange thing coming from a petrol or diesel car, in particular a diesel car, into an electric car around town and noticing how quiet everything is, how calm, how relaxing. There's no vibration up through the pedals from the engine, etc. It's natural habitat, I guess. Now, while we're sitting here in traffic, it's worth going through a few of the things. Now, the mirrors, they work very well, especially these side mirrors instead of the door mirrors. They come quite quickly, quite natural in those. They're perfectly positioned, and a big bonus of them is that they open up this space around the window here, so you have better visibility than a car with normal mirrors. So, you know, front 3/4, you can see pedestrians, you can see cyclists way, way easier. And of course, the camera gives you a better view back as well, in terms of blind spot and everything, than you would normally have in a mirror. Something I noticed about it, which is a bit odd, is that it is a mirrored image still, just like a mirror, even though it doesn't need to be, even though it's a video image. But I guess it's what we're used to having, so that's what it was decided it would be the best thing to put in there. The camera rear view mirror up there, I'm not so convinced by. It takes a little bit of reorientation of your eyes and refocusing to make it work. But it is crystal clear, you know, it's a very widescreen image as such. And if you just clip this here, you can change the view to a normal camera, to a normal mirror view anyway. Now, as you'd hope, as it is predominantly a city car, it rides very well. It soaks up lumps and bumps very well. It's above average from that point of view around town. And it's quite nimble as well. As mentioned earlier, the turning circle is insanely good. It's rear-wheel drive, but don't think that means it's particularly sporty. And despite all of Honda's focus on the design and the aesthetics and bits and pieces, the materials and the image, it drives very well. It's very simple. The controls are nicely weighted. There's nothing gimmicky or unusual about it. You can hear even the indicators are normal tick, 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 tick. Nothing unusual there. The brakes are well modulated. The steering is nice weighting. It's just pleasant to drive. It's one of those cars you get into and you probably come away with thinking, why did I like that? And most people will do this. Think, I like driving that car, and you probably couldn't define why. It's not one particular thing. It's just everything about it is neatly polished. Now, there is normal and comfort modes of driving as well. So if you want absolute maximum response, then you go for the sport mode, and it does make it feel a lot brisker. It makes it more responsive to the throttle pedal, but realistically it's not what most people need, is it? It's plenty responsive enough in normal mode, and you know, it drives well. It's not scorching off the line or anything, but it's faster than most people need, and of course because it's quiet, it feels faster than it is, I guess. One thing you did notice, and I wonder it's partly because of this big glass roof here on dual carriageway on a big road like this, there's a bit of road noise actually through it, and it's a big challenge for electric cars actually, because there's no engine drowning out other noises. Then they have a lot more to deal with. At city speeds you don't even notice it, but here we are at 80 kilometers an hour in the N4, and you do notice it. There's a bit of a boom. I'm having to raise my voice a little bit. Now, in terms of range, I mentioned at the top that officially it has a range of about 220 kilometers depending on the model. We're getting an average energy consumption, according to the dash, of 21.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which isn't great. A lot of these electric cars do 16, 17, 18, so a bit of a difference there. Now, we've been ambling around today, we've had the heating on all the time, we've been playing with the screens and everything, so maybe that contributes to it. Interestingly, if you want to see what the rear-wheel drive is all about, you can go into the safety config button here, and there's a huge amount of safety equipment built into the car. Actually, active safety in particular is everything in it. It's a safe car by default. It's one of Honda's mantras. You can turn off the traction control if you really want to, and then you discover that it's not like a rear-wheel drive hot hatch. Yes, it has 150 horsepower, which is quite a bit for a car of this size. But it's not a fast car in the hot hatch sense, or sporty particularly. And rarely does it feel rear-wheel drive either, to be fair. But this really, as we've said, it really is a city car, first and foremost. It just happens to be one that you'll want to drive, that you'll enjoy driving. It's worth mentioning the brake regen. I showed when we were looking at the interior that these paddles alter the amount of regenerative braking applied, and it never goes very strong actually. So cars like the Mini Electric go really strong on it, where you can drive the car on one pedal just using the throttle, and how much you take off your foot slows the car down. This never gets to that level, even if you put it up at the maximum regeneration. I guess Honda realized or decided that isn't what they wanted. They didn't think it was efficient, or they didn't want the car to feel unnaturally electric in that way. But it's an interesting decision, really. You do have to use the brake pedal in this car. So it's pretty good actually when you do take a bit of liberty with it. In sport mode, good responsive, clings on very well. It's almost sporty in sport mode actually. Body control is very, very good. It's a great car to enjoy. It's a great car to drive at normal speeds. It's something that its owners will absolutely love. I think it's another seminal car from Honda actually. You had the old Insight, the old Honda CRX, and this could be another car of those magnitude. That's our first look at the Honda E in Ireland. Very impressive small car. It's very hard not to be seduced by it. No, it hasn't got the big range. No, it's not super, super fast. But look at it. It's just cool. It's desirable. The interior is cool. There's space for you and three mates. It's great for the person who doesn't need the big long commute, who doesn't need to drive from Dublin to Cork, from Dublin to Galway every day. And it's desirable, as I said. It's about 30 grand at the moment. It might change. Who cares, really? I think this will be bought by people who can afford whatever car they want. It's just a cool city car. Well, let us know what you think about it. Get involved in the comments below. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up. And please, don't forget to subscribe to the Complete Car YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.